It is okay. Recording.
Okay,
Good day, all. I hope you all are
good
safe and sound.
afternoon.
And
Yes,
good afternoon to you, Captain Rohit. Thank you very much, sir, for coming on this show. And as what we spoke about during last show prior to conclusion, that Captain Rohit now will be taking the podium to talk about some accident case, which certainly we would like to know, like the lessons learned from the in the aviation industry based upon that. And to the best of my knowledge, as what I've been given to understand, Captain Rohit, that this particular accident took place on 1st of January 1978, and I
yes,
think it took off. The accident took place off Mumbai, off somewhere off Juhu Beach, and it was Boeing 747 aircraft. And I think the name of the aircraft was Emperor Ashoka. Am I right,
yes,
sir? Just fill me in
absolutely,
case I've missed
absolutely.
out something.
It
So,
was,
sir, this certainly, definitely, we would like to know that what actually happened because, as I also understand from you, that 213 souls were lost. That was very catastrophic.
yes,
So, Captain
absolutely.
Rohit, sir, this is all over to you. Please apprise us. We would like to know because we all do fly somewhere down the line going to a destination from point A to B. But obviously, what are our of course, we have our own apprehensions because finally, when you are either you're going in the maritime thing by ship on a passenger liner and or by aircraft, there are perils are there. But of course, we have the technology and the very competent pilots like you and your colleagues, your comrades, to fly us out and make us reach our destination. So over to you, Captain Rohit, sir.
Yes, it was the 747, the Boeing 747. I'm sure you all must have flown the 747 at some point or the other. And
Yes,
it's a
sir.
very majestic airplane. And this particular airplane was called the Emperor Ashoka.
Right, sir.
You can imagine it was the pride of our nation. One of those airplanes which we called, we named them after these emperors. These aircraft were
Right.
named after the emperors. So this
Hmm.
particular aircraft was the Emperor Ashoka, right?
Okay.
And on this particular fateful day, 1st of January 1978, the aircraft took off. And as we were talking about it in the preamble in the last session, so I just want you to imagine you are a visitor to Juhu Beach on that particular day and the evening at 8 around 8:15, 8:12, this happened in the evening. So you are
Okay.
walking on Juhu Beach and you usually if you're walking on the beach you'll see airplanes taking off and they look very nice. And if
Right.
if the air, the Boeing 747 taking off, it'll be even more majestic, right?
Okay.
So
Yes, of
you are
course.
that observer looking at this beautiful, majestic airplane. It's a big airplane taking off into the skies, and you're wondering, wow, and it's a pride of our nation. You're in 1978, right?
Okay.
We are
Yes.
a developing nation at that time, so we were
Right.
very proud of those possessions that we had. And Air India
Okay.
had
Yes.
bought those airplanes, and Air India was a
What is
government
the
company.
total seating capacity of 747, sir? Normally
Uh, Offhand, I think it's more than about 300, 350 seating capacity.
300
On this,
plus.
yes, 300
Okay. Okay.
plus, right?
Okay. Okay.
On this particular day, there were about 190 passengers on that airplane, and
Okay.
23 crew. That's including the cabin crew, the pilots, the
Okay.
captain, the first officer, and the engineer. So there were
Okay.
about 213 people. So as the observer, you watch this airplane take off, and then it's just making a routine turn to the right, and then levels off. And for some reason, and you are just flabbergasted looking at it. And it's just for some reason it turns to the right and spirals down into the Arabian Sea. And you would have imagine if you are that person, you would have actually seen history made at that point. It was a huge devastation, a catastrophe for aviation as well as for our country at that point, right?
Definitely, definitely.
And if you were in Bandra and if you read the history about Bandra, there were people scattered running around, getting things organized, and there were rescue operations, and all that was set up. But then not when nobody could be rescued because everybody perished in that. The
What
sad
I can
part,
imagine, perhaps at night, 2015 hours approximately, when the aircraft was ditching, probably, there might have been some flames or something, and must have
right?
been very, horrendously, scary if I could try to, go into that perception.
Exactly. So some
Yes, sir.
fishing trawlers and Coast Guard and all had gone for rescue, but they could not do much in that case because the
Okay.
aircraft had completely shattered. And when the investigation was done, what came out? Well, that was not the right one, but then this is what they said. It was irrational control inputs from the captain,
Oh, so there was no
which
technical snag like, engine failure or something of that sort?
there was no engine failure, but it was not an irrational control input. And that's what I'm trying to get at today, because we talk about when we do investigation, or usually these accident investigation, we talk about the pilot error or the operator error, the person who was on the controls, his error or her error. You know, we never talk about the situations which leads them to make those errors, if you may, or what is the reason for doing those. Nobody wakes up in the morning to create those errors, right? Nobody wanted to do that to that airplane,
Was
right?
it
But we
something
got to,
similar to construing it towards, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not making any statement. Was it something construing towards lack of situational awareness?
well, yes, the situational awareness was a miss at that point. But understand this whole thing lasted. The aircraft took off from runway 27 and went up. The whole thing must have lasted about, after airborne, it's about 111 seconds.
Oh my God, that's about,
That's less than two
okay.
minutes,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So if we talk about situational awareness and getting back your situational awareness, you got only 111 seconds to do all that,
Right, I understand. I
right?
understand.
So let's understand what went wrong in this case, and if then I would ask you the same question: would you say it was irrational control inputs? Okay, all right. So there are two things that we have to understand in this case, and they're really the central uh, participants of the story of this event. Right. One is called the attitude indicator. If you could
Right,
just
sir.
pull up the
Yes,
attitude
I will.
indicator.
I will. I'll do it right away, sir.
Right.
Can you see it,
Nice.
sir?
Yes,
Okay.
this is the
Yes, sir.
attitude indicator. Well, it's
Yes, sir.
also called the artificial horizon. If you see it, on top is the
Okay.
sky, the
Right.
brown part is the earth, right?
Okay. Okay.
So when I'm flying, so if I want to pitch up, I pitch my airplane towards the sky. If I want to
Mm-hmm.
descend down, I pitch my airplane towards the ground, right? It's
Okay.
as
Okay.
simple as that.
Okay.
It's got some
Right.
markings on 10 degrees, 20 degrees, and all that.
Yes.
Let's not get
Right.
into those details. Okay, the
Okay.
one is the pitch. This also shows me my bank, my turn, whether I'm turning to
Okay.
the left or to the right. So if I'm turning to
Right.
the left, my sky will go to the right, indicating just
Opposite.
like what I would do, just how an actual horizon would seem, right? When I'm
Yes.
turning to
Yes.
the left, the sky would go all the way to the right, and there'll be more of Earth on my left hand side.
Mm-hmm.
Am
Right.
I
Right.
making sense?
Yes.
So
Yes. Definitely. Crystal clear, sir. Crystal clear.
if I'm turning to the right, the sky will go towards the left, and I'll see more of the Earth on the right side, right?
Relatively, relative motion, you're going to right, the sky will go to the left and
Yes,
vice
yes, yes.
versa. Understood.
So
Understood.
this is artificially creating a horizon,
Right,
correct?
sir.
Now, on this particular day, they are taking off into a dark sky. The horizon is not very clear because you
Okay.
understand there's water and there's pitch dark sky, so you don't
Okay.
know
Okay. Okay.
where
So,
exactly is your horizon.
so it was an overcast night sort of thing.
It was not. It doesn't have to be overcast. In a dark night like
But
this,
but
if you're
moonlight, no moonlight, nothing. That
no
that would that
moonlight.
helps
So
you.
if you do,
Okay.
yes, if you the sea and the sky, they blend together. So you won't
Right.
know the demarcation of a horizon.
Okay. Okay. I
Correct.
understand now. Yes, sir.
So pilots would really depend on this particular instrument because it is showing they're artificially representing the horizon.
Right, sir.
Now, this 747 with the captain flying the airplane, there's a first officer beside him and there's an engineer behind him. And
Mhm.
of course, 190 passengers going to Dubai. The flight had taken off for Dubai.
Oh,
And they
about
take
from
off.
Mumbai to Dubai. Okay.
Yeah, the
Okay.
flight is from Mumbai to Dubai. Yeah,
Right,
so
sir.
they take off and then that scheduled right turn. So that obviously the attitude indicator would have indicated a right turn.
Right.
And thereafter, for some reason, it remained in that turn, the indicator,
Oh,
right?
I mean to say, let me understand that. Uh, the captain had taken a right turn to starboard,
Yes.
and was his helm still to the right, or
So
was it that this altimeter it got stuck?
attitude indicator, the artificial
Attitude
horizon,
indicators. Okay.
indicated a right turn,
Okay.
and then it remained there.
Okay. Remain there. All right.
It stayed in that position,
Okay.
right? So
So,
now
so
the
what does the
captain,
what indication you get when this kind of thing happens?
that's what it has failed. There was no failure indication in this.
Okay. So you
To
don't have
them,
any 100% redundancy, a backup, something with your first officer or
yes.
another
So
navigator?
yes, the first officer has got a similar representation. There is one
Okay.
standby instrument,
Okay.
but in that moment, the captain would be flying looking at this particular instrument.
Okay. Okay.
Right? And that is not showing him correct representation.
Okay.
The aircraft is showing him, the indicator is showing him that he's in a right turn, right bank or a right turn.
Okay. Okay.
So he tries to correct it to the left.
All right. With the counter
And
help. Yes.
to counter that.
Yes, sir.
But he counters that by turning to the left. The indicator is still not correcting. It should, erect itself and come back to its normal, or at least show him a left turn then. It's
Right.
not.
Right.
So he's thinking it's his bank is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And he's turning further and further and further.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yes, sir. Go ahead, please. Please go ahead, sir.
So this is as far as the attitude indicator or the artificial horizon, how it is, how he is seeing it, because there's no outside reference for him at that point.
Okay.
He is dependent on this. Okay. Also,
Right.
now let's understand there's something called as the leans. Now, what is the limitation of our human design? Not blaming
Okay.
God, this is how we are designed, how we have evolved, right? How do we
Right.
sense our balance? Well, I'm sure I'm not going to get technical in this again, but how do we find our sense of balance? How come we don't fall, trip? Where is that sense of balance coming in for us? It's coming in from our inner ears, right?
Yes, what I understand from our physics that you get to hear it clearly because of the phase difference of the separation between the two ears. You get to hear or distinguish the sound whether it's coming from your left or right.
Yes. So that's as far as sound is concerned. But
Yes,
similarly,
sir.
we find a sense of balance through a
Okay.
very complex, uh, let's call it an instrument in our ear. And there are three tubes. There's three semicircular tubes. If you have that picture, could you
Yes,
just
I
show that?
do. I do. Give me a moment, sir. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. I will just go there to the same slide. Give me a moment.
So, right.
Is this
Yes.
one? This is the one, sir?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one. If
Okay.
you see, there
Okay.
are three on the left hand side, there are three canals. or
Okay.
tubes. Let's call them tubes. Let's
Okay.
simple
That
semicircular
is
tubes.
semicircular canals. That's what we are talking about.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
vestibular labyrinth and all that. But
Yes,
again,
sir.
no technicality. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so these three tubes, what they do is they give our sense of direction in one is in pitch, in bank, and yaw. So if I move my head, this is my pitch going up and down. My bank is this or
Okay.
turn, and my
Okay.
yaw is this,
Yeah. Okay.
right? So this sense is given by our inner ear to us.
Okay.
If sometimes when this gets because if you have cold or something, if it gets choked, you sort of become dizzy. That's what happens.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's because
Okay.
your ears are blocked, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
in this inside this tube, it's got a fluid running, okay, and
Right.
also there's a fine hair follicles inside. So when you move in a certain direction, the lick obviously the fluid flows in that direction. The hair follicle moves, and that gives an indication to the brain telling you which direction it is turning, or the
Okay.
person or you are turning,
All right.
right? Now, the limitation of this is if you go continuously go in one direction, it takes it for a while for it takes a it for a I mean a while for it to come back into the other direction. For example,
Okay. Okay.
let me remind you of your childhood days. It's not very. I'm sure it's not been very many years for that. So, have you remember you on the merry-go-round?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So,
Definitely. Yes.
so when you came out of the merry-go-round, your head was still spinning in that direction, whereas the
Right. Right.
merry-go-round is stopped. Now, what
Right.
is
Right.
that? So this is that fluid still moving in that direction. It takes it for a while to stop.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay.
This is a
So,
classic example. Yeah.
okay. I get it. Now I get it. Yes, I understand, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is
Hmm.
an example. It's the term is called as leans. It's the leans, right? You're
Means.
still
Okay.
leaning in one direction. You come out,
Yes.
you stop turning, but you feel the leans, stating
Right.
that
Right.
your mind, your brain is still telling you you're in tilted in that direction.
Correct. Correct.
Now, put yourself in that captain's position. You have your attitude indicator, which is giving you a right turn. Your leans is still showing you still in that right turn. You have no outside reference and you're still trying to correct the situation by turning to the left,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
Now,
I get it. Hmm.
this is happening in those few seconds
111 seconds, as what you said, from the time she took off from the Mumbai
from the
airport.
time it took off, but this is happening in probably even a shorter time frame, right?
Right.
So the
Correct.
first officer, his indicator has not failed. He
Mm-hmm.
makes some statement like, "Oh, it is." The captain realizes something is going wrong. He says, "What's wrong with my instrument?" He said,
Mm-hmm.
the first officer says, "Yeah, yeah, it's fine. It's toppled. It's fine." So really, no help there.
Okay.
Now he keeps turning and turning and turning, trying to correct the situation. He's fighting against two things. One, his own brain, which is giving him a signal which is contra to what he's trying to do. His attitude
Mm-hmm.
indicator, which is completely wrong and it has failed. He
Mm-hmm.
probably is not even sure at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to come out of that bank. And in the
Okay.
bargain, what he ends up doing is putting this huge airplane. There are four engines on this, right? On this airplane into 110 degrees bank to the left, and the
Right.
aircraft must have violently juddered at that moment, and then must have gone into the sea, shattering completely at that moment. At that point, the
I
flight
yes, sir. Go ahead.
the flight engineer came in last because he probably was looking at the standby instrument. He says there's a statement in the recording that not that look at this one, follow this one. We don't know which one he's pointing out.
So the
Okay.
flight engineer also has the same equipment in his
There's
side.
yeah, so there's one besides the captain itself. There in the front. a panel itself that's there, but the flight engineer is able to see that very clearly. So
Okay,
he
okay.
probably must have realized, this is an understanding that we get from the recording. He's saying, look at this one, not that. But then it is too late
Hmm.
by then. The aircraft is already into 110 degrees bank. It is very, very difficult to recover such a huge airplane from that situation.
Can I ask something, Captain Rohit, with your permission?
Yes.
Now, in our walk of life, we have something known as, of course, you must be having definitely something similar to that, modus operandi. We have like, BTM, bridge team management, by virtue of which when you're going through a critical maneuver, suppose I being a master, I'm trying, maybe I'm making a mistake because I'm also human. So my, first officer or my chief officer or maybe the second officer subject to who's there with me, he may just give me a prompt, Captain, like, this is something is not right or something. So in this particular case, as what you have narrated the whole episode, was the first officer who was sitting beside the captain, did he not give him a prompt of that there is something not right?
So only prompt was what I said he gave. Again, remember, this is 1978. So as aviation and, we did not have so much of an understanding of human factors, and
Okay,
all these call outs were not very clear at that point. We learned out of all
mhm,
these situations. Like they
okay,
say, these processes and procedures are written in blood, and rightly so, because somebody had to give up their life for that. So we've
yes, yes,
learned
very
from
true.
them.
Yes,
Today's
yes,
time, we have very clear cut call outs and, assertive calls for these kind of situations. But then that has been learned now. The
I
instruments
understand.
instruments are upgraded now. So if there's a failure in any of these instruments, you get a flag which tells you that it is failed. So it immediately
Right.
you have to stop looking at that or following that, and you go on the standby or any other instrument, or correlate with other instruments available to you at that point. But then these things come only with experience and learning.
Hmm.
That person, that captain over there, he probably did not have this kind of, you know, learning, or he probably did not even realize that it has failed in that sense. So he has to stop looking at that and correlate with some other instruments, or hand over the control to the first officer. It would have been as simple as that.
I understand. So basically, from your perspective, what do you think you would, or in the the accident or the report, what was the final outcome? Was it equipment failure or the 100% redundancy, as what you said, like we have evolved after so many years, and all these things are written in blood, which is certainly the truth. But at that point in time, this kind of coordination was not there, because I agree that something similar to that also was not very much, present in our industry. Also, we also have learned from our mistakes from our industry.
So the manufacturer of the instrument, there was a case later on. They said they were not responsible for this. This is the statement made was irrational control inputs from the Capt. So when there was a case in the U.S. court, it was thrown out as something that it's completely pilot error. And again, I keep saying irrational control inputs, which it really doesn't go well with me. But
Neither does it go well with me also, Captain Rohit, because end of the day, who's the scapegoat? Human error, human element. No,
exactly.
nobody will accept the equipment failure because probably, with due respect, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, because there's a multi-billion-dollar business, thing which may get
Absolutely.
affected. That's what
Absolutely.
I understand.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what I understand. Yes. So
So
so because
the
Boeing
blame
itself
was
is a big
finally
company,
on the
big
Capt.
aircraft manufacturer. If you point a gun at Boeing, of course they know how to do the arm twisting. If I'm not mistaken, so.
So it was blamed on the captain, and also no coordination with the between the first officer and the engineer with the captain. It was blamed all on that. Uh, but we, as today, we have to understand. When we talk about errors that happen, we also have to, it's not an intentional error. Nobody goes out to make an intentional error. But we have to understand what are our personal physical limitations, that the way our body is designed, we have to know that. And we have to have some kind of protective mechanisms which will protect us from our own failures or limitations, not failures, limitations. So we got to understand our own limitation. Like I said, this inner ear design that we have, it is a simple limitation that we have. And it's probably been designed, I don't know, millions of years back in a human being, but it's working for us. But we put ourselves in an environment which is very, very different. We're not birds, we're not supposed to be flying. And we take the same design, this human design, onto the air, and we expect us to perform in the same way, which is wrong, which is not happening. So we have to know our limitations and what is the protective mechanism that we can put in place to deal with those limitations. Equipment failures could happen. So the manufacturers are becoming better. They have failure flags and all those things, indications that come up. But our own limitations we don't realize. Our illusions that we create, even our eyes, what we see is not necessarily what we see. It's what we think we see. We see as what our brain is or what we want to see. We don't see what is there right in front of us, the way it is. That's a limitation that we carry.
It's like selective hearing or selective viewing,
Absolutely.
or they say
Absolutely.
like there's a difference between listening and hearing. So if you're listening, you
Absolutely.
understand what is happening. You have a brain and ear coordination, and if you're hearing, that means something else.
Yeah. So I think that
That
should be the learning for us.
so end of the day, what did the report specify? Like for me and my our viewers, because I'm a bit inquisitive, that what was the conclusion of this particular accident report?
So for us,
Same here.
the conclusion or the understanding should be that, one, you're taking off into a night sky, the horizon is not very clear, right? So you're very, very dependent on your instruments. Now, if your instrument fails at that point, it's very rare that all the instruments would fail at the same time, right?
Mhm.
It's a good time to have a quick cross check, and that cross check should come very clear and crisp from the other person or the person who's dealing with the situation. That quick question, what is happening and what is the indication that is being shown, should be a very clear cut uh, statement so that there is
So
no.
now you must be having very advanced equipment in your aircrafts, etc., learning from the so many past accidents or incidents.
So we do have, but we still have the attitude indicator, which is an electronic form.
Okay,
It doesn't it doesn't fail so
electronic.
often though.
Okay, and
So
that won't have any electronic interference or something from some
it
gadget
doesn't
or
have, but
doesn't have.
if it fails, the whole thing will go off. So that's fine. So we know it has failed. These
Okay.
old instruments they were based on a gyroscope.
Gyroscope. Yes, we have the
Yes,
gyroscope.
and these gyros would fail quite often.
So
That was
you
the
you
concept.
have two gyros, or what is it? A backup gyro in case one fails, something like this.
Yes, so there were three backup. I mean, two more backups to this as well. But then the call outs did not come from the other people, right? At that
Yes,
point.
yes, yes, yes. So the second gyro was with the first officer's control, and the main master gyro was with the captain, probably. What I understand.
So if you can't blame the manufacturer as well, because not everything has failed, only one equipment has failed. You still had the other one and the backup as well, the standby as well, which could have been
Mm-hmm.
used. But if there were clear-cut call-outs and it was specified that mine has failed, okay, this is the bank, we have to turn this way or take over control by the other person. Because they are similar, both the controls are same, right? One person uh, in the airplane, you can hand over control to the other person and they have equal control of the airplane.
And I heard you saying something down the line that the in-flight engineer also gave some prompt to the
Right.
captain and probably the first officer. So what was it like? I might have missed out on that. Would you like to describe
Yeah,
on
so the
that?
flight engineer's call was not that. Look at this. That was something like something to that effect. He said. So
Mm-hmm.
that understanding is he probably was looking at the standby instrument, which is completely different from both the captains and first officers. There's another standby instrument right in front of him. So he must
Okay,
have said, no, don't look at that, look at this one.
okay,
That's
okay, okay.
but
Uh,
it was too late by then.
Too late, yes, because of the speed and because of the that maneuver
The
which was
aircraft is
taken.
banking, almost 110 degrees, which is
Correct,
a
correct,
lot for an airplane.
correct, correct.
These are not fighter jets. They're not meant to
Yes.
be doing all those aerobatics. Right?
Huh.
If you put a 747 into a bank of 110 degrees, he will not sustain. The weight itself is too much for that.
Correct, correct, correct. I understand. I understand. Definitely. So this was a basically conclusion that, what you just narrated to us at the end of the day, which is, very sad to hear that, uh, 213 souls were lost. And okay, master or captain, we all are human and we have our limitations. Yes, we do not know that. And advancement in the equipment or the to have redundancy in case one equipment fails, that how to go with a backup plan, etc., etc., which is probably we are trying to get more and more matured into the industry to probably ensure that these kind of things can be averted or avoided. That's what I understand, Captain Rohit.
True, true, true.
This certainly was definitely very, very interesting to know, like how you had described with this air, diagram and semicircular canals and the whole thing. How does it work, including the other things you've talked about? How does the liquid flows, and in case you're spinning somewhere, and by such time the what is that merry-go-round kind of thing which fails, and thereafter it takes you a while to get your
Yes.
bearings
To
right.
recover from that, yeah.
Yes, yes, to get your bearings right because of this particular leak, which certainly has been, very, very much of a learning curve. Of course, we do have all these things of in our air. How does it function? Of course, I would have got to learn in case I had some ear infection from my, ENT doctor or something. But then, how you have correlated this thing has been, remarkably very much. Acceptable and definitely appreciated. That reminds me before anything else you'd like to say on this, Captain Rohit, sir?
Well, just this. The whole point of the discussion is, whoever is watching this, they should take this as a learning,
Yes,
understand our
yes,
limitations, our human limitations, and
definitely.
before you get into any event, any critical exercise. Maybe you are
Mhm.
flying an airplane, or you could be doing so many other things. Understand your
Mhm.
limitations. Have a plan for that.
Right,
Always.
right, right.
It's one in a million case, but for that one in a million case, you have to have a backup.
Definitely.
It could be an instrument failure. It could be an illusion that is created by your own brain, which is stopping you from doing the right thing. Remember that that can happen, and we must have a plan for that at all
Plan
points.
B. Yes, yes.
Yes.
This reminds me of one thing from my walk of life. There was a collision between two vessels off US somewhere, and the captain was called at midnight while he was asleep. So the duty officer, by such time, he called him, and the captain came, came up on the bridge. Probably because once you're asleep, it takes you a while to get, your awareness or situational awareness or your bearings right. But by such time, it was a bit too late, and the vessels collided, and there was a big damage, and probably one or few lives were also lost. So this case was going on in U.S. Court of Law, in the Maritime Court of Law, and I think it took 2 years plus. So prior to passing or giving the judgment or the verdict, the judge asked the Captain, I see that everything has gone against you, but prior to me giving the judgment or giving my verdict uh, with respect to the jury and everybody who has brought their reports or their findings to me, do you have anything to say?
Mm.
You know, Captain Rohit, what did he say? The captain or the master? He said, Your Honor, you took 2 to 2.5 years to find out what actually happened. But when I was called in the middle of night, 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, I did not even have 2 minutes to find out what is happening because I was fast asleep. You know,
Mm.
based on that
Exactly.
statement, he was sent free.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is what it is like, because if there is a person who understands, okay, the loss which took place in this particular accident was there, but then you cannot keep blaming the person in charge at all the times. That's the lesson I've learned from your this particular incident. If I have got it right, Captain, go ahead.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So that is the reason I just wanted to endorse this with this particular incident because once the judge and the jury they heard this thing, they said, yes, it is right. It took us 2 to 2.5 years to carry out the whole assessment where the captain on board just did not even have 2 minutes to take a call.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, look at it this way. We've been talking about this case for the last, what, 45 minutes, 1 hour? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Captain probably had 20 seconds or 30 seconds to do this whole thing.
Yes, yes, I agree. The time
Mhm.
factor and all those things because it's very easy to
Exactly.
blame, but very difficult to understand what actually must have happened or what state of
Exactly.
mind that captain would have been there and what sort of like obviously we are humans, the panic also sets in that okay there is something is not right and we cannot do
True. True.
we cannot bring the aircraft back to in a steady path or steady course.
In steady, normal paths, yeah. So that would itself would be a big factor in a person and his or her performance at that point.
Right, sir, right. Cab Rohit, sir, thank you very much for
Good.
filling us in with this accident, which unfortunately took place on 1st of January 1978 on a Boeing 747, where 213 lives were lost. It's very, very sad to lose those 213 souls. And we can also, you have also highlighted that what must have been perhaps, going around in that particular cockpit. And it is not right, it is not always correct to blame it on human element. We do have equipment failure, we do have redundancy, but then the human limitations, as what you have highlighted, that yes, we all are human. We have some certain limitations, but with the training and with the other new equipments which are coming up in the industry, it certainly has made the things bit better. But at the same time, we cannot, undermine the human factor and or sometimes the complacency as well. Thank you,
Right.
Captain Rohit. We will meet again, and then let's
Yes.
talk about something which we will have interaction between both the industries and both the maritime and aviation industry, and try to correlate how we can,
Yes.
get to learn, cohesively from both the industries.
We'll keep bringing up events like this and some learnings that we can have, which both our
Definitely,
fields could
definitely,
uh,
definitely, sir.
learn from and make it safer for all of us. Right.
Yes, sir.
So let's
Safer
do that.
environment. Yes, yes,
Yes.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you for asking all
Thank
these
you, sir.
questions so that
Thank
I
you
could,
so much.
bring
Thank you
out
so
the
much
debate.
for your presentation. Definitely, I believe our viewers would definitely will take a lot of things back home once they go through all the nitty-gritties as what has been described by Captain Rohit in a very diligent manner, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Rohit, sir. Good
Thank
day.
you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Good day. God bless, sir.
Good
Thank you.